Welcome back to the Backstage Kitchen Podcast, where the stories are loud, the food is real, and people behind the craft get to the mic. I'm Chef Richard Julien, and today's episode is one I've been looking forward to because my guest is the kind of artist who writes from the bone. Joining me is Christina Martin, singer-songwriter and storyteller, an East Coast force whose songs hit like late-night conversation you didn't know you needed. We're talking about the writing process, the grind, the growth, and what seems to keep creating when life gets heavy, all right? She's very busy, and I'm so happy that she sat down and talked to me for a bit. Today's Artist Spotlight, we're shining it on Mary Ann Faithfull, a true original, a woman who didn't just make music, she survived long enough to reinvent it and left a body of work that still teaches artists how to tell the truth. So grab a coffee, pour something nice, and lace up your apron because this is the Backstage Kitchen Podcast. Let's talk about a few upcoming birthdays around this time of year. January 26th, Lucinda Williams, born in 1953. She's an Americana country rock legend with huge influence on modern roots of singer and songwriters even today. January 27th, Margot Timmons from the Cowboy Junkies. Remember them? I love them. They're so great. They had this haunting sound to them and the voice of the Trinity Session era, alt-country folk rock moodiness. And that's probably the best way to describe it. They're kind of like that moody cousin that comes in and plays the twanger. That makes sense. January 18th, Canada's own Sarah McLachlan, born in 1968. Shout out to Halifax. So she's a Halifax-born pop rock icon and Lilith Fair founder. She's reestablished herself in Vancouver, but I think she still calls Halifax home, and we're very proud of her. And I remember being a young whippersnapper and seeing her serve at one of the local bars. Anyway, I don't know her, but it's kind of a neat side note. January 30th, Samantha Fish, born in 1989. She's a modern blues rock shredder, singer-songwriter with great kind of like a current scene vibe. She's great. Exene Cervenka, born in 1956, the original punk rock poet, one of the defining voices of the LA punk scene. And then last but not least, Amy Allen from the Interrupters, kind of a ska punk front woman, like it's like an underground, but she definitely had a punch and a power that people still remember. So notable dates around here. Let's talk about Cyndi Lauper for a second, another powerful woman in music. Around this time, January 29th, 1997, she released Sisters of Avalon, a pop rock, kind of alt-leaning, strong, women speaking up kind of song. So that kind of leads into a sad moment, unfortunately. Mary Ann Faithfull passed away a year ago on January 30th. And I thought it would be fitting for us today to use that as our artist spotlight because Mary Ann Faithfull affected not just women and men in rock, but people around the world with her hard-hitting realism. I would also like to add, regardless of how you identify and gender, I'm referring to people all over the world, whether you identify as male, female, however, I uninclude anyone. Coming up next, we're going to talk a bit more about Mary Ann Faithfull and our artist spotlight. So, before we get into today's conversation, I want to take a moment to honor the life and work of Mary Ann Faithfull. If you're a songwriter, if you're a survivor, and if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after life took a big swing at you, Mary Ann's story hits different. She came into the world as a bright spark in the 1960s, young, kinetic, and immediately heard. In 1964, she releases As Tears Go By, and suddenly there's this voice in the air that feels both delicate and wise beyond its years. Not just a pretty vocal, an emotional presence, the kind that makes you stop what you're doing because the song feels like it's looking you right in the eye. And for a lot of people, that's where they freeze her in time. Swinging London, the posters, the myth, the headlines. But there's a lot more. Mary Ann Faithfull wasn't a frozen moment. She was a full human life, a little messy, brilliant, painful, stubborn, and real. She acted too on the film and stage, the kind of artist who wasn't content just to do one thing well. She had that rare quality where the camera believed her and the microphone believed her, and then life happened. The part that isn't glamorous. Her story includes loss, addiction, and collapse in full view of the public, the kind of downfall people treat like entertainment, sadly, until it's someone you love or it's you. And she lived through years that could have easily ended her story early. But what makes Mary Ann legendary? What makes her a rock figure, not just a pop footnote? It's that she came back. Not came back like a tidy comeback story with a neat bow on it. She came back like an artist who had walked through the fire and decided, I'm still here and I'm telling the truth now. 1979, she releases Broken English, and it's one of the most jaw-dropping reinventions in modern history. Her voice, once light and youthful, returns rougher, deeper, cracked in the most human way, not broken, but transformed. Like experience became an instrument. And the songs, they don't ask permission. They don't aim to be polite. They aim to be honest. The album is one of those records that teaches you something if you're listening. That your voice doesn't need to stay pretty to be powerful. That perfection is overrated. That sometimes the most beautiful thing you can offer is the sound of surviving. How true is that? And the wild part is this. Mary Ann didn't just do one comeback. She kept evolving for decades, moving through styles, collaborators, eras, still making art that sounded like a person, not a brand. Later in life, she made work that felt intimate and fearless, like she was still chasing truth, still refining what she wanted to say. Albums like Negative Capability showed that she could look directly at age, memory, regret, politics, and love without flinching. And even near the end, she was still creating, still putting something honest to the world. Mary Ann Faithfull passed away on January 30th, 2025 at 78 years old. And I think it's important to say this out loud. We didn't just lose a singer, we lost a reminder. A reminder that art can hold the whole life, just not the highlight reel. A reminder that your story isn't over because you hit bottom. A reminder that a voice can change, and sometimes that change is where the real magic lives. So today, we dedicate this moment to Mary Ann, to her work, her resilience, her refusal to disappear, and the way she made imperfection sound like the truth. And if you're listening right now, and you're in a hard season, if you're rebuilding, if you're trying again, if you feel like people only remember the versions of you that struggled, Mary Ann's career is a quiet, fierce message. You can return, you can transform, and you can make something stunning out of what you lived through. I kind of going through that myself. I don't mind to make it about me, but I went through a really difficult time and left Chef Live behind. And the last year I've been rebuilding it, and it's been a difficult road. It's been hard to see people who knew me when I was going through my worst of times. But that's why I wanted to talk about Mary Ann today, because I really can identify with her struggle. So Mary Ann, thank you for the songs, thank you for the courage, and thank you for showing the world that rock isn't just volume and swagger. Sometimes it's the cracked voice that tells the truth anyways. Here's a little side note. When Roger Waters assembled an all-star cast of musicians to perform the rock opera The Wall live in Berlin in July 1990, it was huge. It was televised. It was the thing to be seen. Faithfull played the part of Pink's overprotective mother. I think that's great because it shows you how exciting and how much of a movement that she created, because she took that role and encapsulated perfectly. And it was one of my favorite performances. So now let's move into today's episode. I'm really excited for this conversation with Christina Martin because great songwriting lives in the same territory that Mary Ann owned so well. The real stuff, the lived-in stuff, and the truth. So let's talk about Christina Martin. She's coming up next. I have with me Christina Martin, and she is an accomplished musician who I've been following for many years, and had the privilege to meet back in 2008 when she had just released her second album, Two Hearts. And Christina, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you could take some time with me to be here today.
Thanks for inviting me. This is super cool. I love the concept of this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I had met you sort of earlier in your career when, Two Hearts it came out. Before that, you'd done some traveling and you had a really cool experience, traveling to Texas, I think initially as a nanny, but you got involved in the music scene down there. And was that the seed that germinated everything that you wanted to do in music, or were you playing on a level in Nova Scotia before you did that?
No, I had not written a song before that. I had taken music lessons as a child, and, like, I know looking back, like, I had some instincts and, I would write songs sort of in secrecy, no lyrics, but, like, just piano on piano when I was
Right.
taking lessons when I was quite young, but I was more of an athlete,
Hmm.
quit music lessons young, and then when I would get drunk with my friends, they would tell me in
I
when
love
I
it.
was a teenager, my friends would tell me because we would all sing our songs we loved, and they would say, "Wow, you have a really good voice." And like, I didn't know that, but I did use singing as a way of self soothing
Totally.
throughout my life and calming myself down.
Mm,
And so eventually I really, I really like singing, but I had no idea how to like write a song. I'd never really like with lyrics and how to make a go at it. It just wasn't on my radar. And until I moved to Austin, Texas, and then I discovered singer-songwriters and out by myself to hear different performers playing solo oftentimes with their acoustic guitar telling stories, and I was really captivated, and I was curious if I could do that thing. And at the time I had kind of quit everything, like I just didn't know what I wanted to do with life. My father had just died. I was like but it was a nice break cuz I was always so school focused and grade focused,
mhm.
but I really didn't have like an end goal or something I was super passionate about. So, Austin, Texas, I kind of had the time and space to explore, like to read more and to
Mm.
go out and hear live music. And then I bought an acoustic guitar, and there were a number of other things that transpired like over I'd say a 2 to 3 year period that really like solidified that I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to write songs and I wanted to sing them in front of people, even though it was terrifying. And so good people around me, were encouraging, and just some of the experiences I went out and was just living my life and trying to take in as much as I could and say yes to things and led me to kind of solidify that path, I guess, with music.
Kind of stretching your boundaries. What we learn, I find we learn the most when we feel either unsure of ourselves or a little afraid. We seem to learn and grow a lot.
Yeah, and when my father died, I really like went into a pretty deep depression and
Yeah, of course.
and was drinking a lot and became sober for a long time. Um, and I wasn't afraid of much, actually, because I had been so down, and I kind of knew. I was like, you see death and you're like, "Wow, like, life is fragile."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, the worst thing that could happen, I guess, is, like, I could die and then not have a chance to try these things." So, I guess I was even though I still had things like nerves and anxiety and I was nervous when I had stage fright and all that stuff, I had to learn how to overcome and work with that my anxieties over many, many, many years. But I knew that like I had if there was a desire to do something, even if I was afraid, I knew or nervous, I knew I would have to try it or I would regret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can relate to that for sure. I didn't have, I guess, sort of a life changing death in my family at an early age, but yeah, I guess that does teach you something in our development. At a time in our life where we think we're indestructible. At a certain
Mhm.
time in our life, especially when we're in the university stage or like you had mentioned earlier, focusing on education. To have that opens a different door for us. Can probably help us not be that much afraid. I'm not saying it was a good thing your dad passed, but it definitely taught you a life lesson.
Oh, I learned so much really and other losses, it can be like doesn't have to be a death, but it could be like
Sure.
just an exit event, loss of a friend or, an illness for yourself and when something's taken away, you realize
Yes.
what's important, I suppose, and, even when it's a complicated relationship. So, the losses in my life have been a big part of writing music and
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and figuring those things out and trying to figure out how to talk about the tough stuff and, I guess, sing about it. So it's been, as cliche as it is, it's been a very especially the first decade or so of my songwriting was very therapeutic, very,
Yes. Yes.
very
Yes.
healing,
Of course. Yes.
um, and became just a bunch of songs to kinda help me remind me to kinda stay on track, and yeah.
That's really, yeah, no, I can totally relate. Not in the same way, but I have written songs that are very near and dear to me. And yeah, I found most of my inspiration. And again, I'm not comparing myself to a professional, but as an amateur songwriter, Yeah, they were heartfelt things that I was going through, and it was almost, yeah, it was like it was cheaper than therapy. I had a $50 beater beach guitar from that I bought in Halifax, and yeah, I learned my first few chords on that, and it really was therapeutic, and I never took it to the next level. I was a chef first. This was like a hobby that I wanted to do and prove to myself, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna play in front of some people." I did that, I liked it, and then, I just left the stage and let pros like you do it.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, I still feel because I've had jobs on and off
Mm.
ever since I was young, and, I like, because I also like to spend money.
Yes, I understand that.
It and music has any earnings I've made through music have, for the most part, just gone right back into my music, and so I've, over time, had to have different jobs to help fuel my passion, so, like, there's a part of me that still feels kinda like this is a hobby, and I'm not a really trained musician. I mean, I'm a lot very self a lot of I'm self-taught for the most part. I mean, I have dabbled in music lessons, but I've been a quitter. I'm a quitter when it comes unfortunately, I'm
You know
terrible
what?
when it yeah.
A lot of very successful people that we have in this world have quit university, have quit this, have quit that, and gone their own way. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Well, I think one of the other things I have going for me, I mean, I love singing. I love my voice is my main instrument. I love people. I'm also like, I'm not an excellent entrepreneur, but I do have that entrepreneurial sense and a work ethic that I got from my parents.
Nice.
The entrepreneurship, especially from my father, but the work ethic from both my mom and my dad. And then, of course, growing up with sports and knowing, discipline, self-discipline and routine and training. And, like I excelled in school, but it's not because I was the smartest. I just like, you learn how to memorize stuff. And then I don't remember anything from
Mhm.
school. I did well because I was able to memorize things for.
And the way our school system is set up, that is sort of how you do succeed, currently.
Yeah, yeah, but luckily I have this, like, make something from nothing thing that I definitely got from both my parents, and that's helped me, where I lack in with music, I excel a little bit in developing ideas and creativity and bringing people together and executing a plan where I think a lot of people struggle with that, and it's yeah, so that's been something that's helped me, for
To
sure.
have the macro, I call it, because I'm very similarly minded. I like creating things. I was doing pop-ups like 10 or 15 years ago, and then I'm not saying I didn't invent the pop-up, but I was very lucky to do that. I didn't have to do that. There weren't necessarily a monetary attachment to it. But what was cool about it was I got to have musicians come and we would do these pop-ups and it led to other things. It was just fun. It's just what I like to do. So I enjoy that too. And I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I think sometimes we do it out of necessity.
Mhm.
Invention is it's that saying, necessity or key to whatever. I probably didn't say it right, but you get what I mean. And that is important when you are an independent entrepreneur, whether it's a musician or chef or actor or whatever, you are a small business. And to get your word out there, it has to be bigger than just like for me to just put a plate on Instagram, that's not going to do it. There's other connections that I try to make throughout, and I'm sure maybe it's the same way with you with creating albums and getting them out there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for years and years, I spent so much time, making connections, building relationships on the ground, touring with with audiences, and then also on the industry, but with music buyers, people that want to bring you to their venues and festivals and
Yes.
just unique special events, and it's just a lot of that. And then there's the admin, the paperwork if you want to get paid.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no money in the arts," but I mean there is.
There is.
It's not impossible to be an artist that not necessarily a super high tier or mainstream to make money from your art. There are a lot of great musicians who make a decent living and achieve their goals and have a house, a roof over their head, or can pay the rent and raise a family. They're not maybe household names. And the same with business owners. There's some really successful business owners out there. Nobody knows who they are, but
Absolutely, yeah.
they're working their buns off behind the scenes. And so yeah, I always say people say, "Well, I hate doing that. I can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, I don't love doing every bit of it, but I've learned to, there is a freedom that comes with being able to do a lot of little things, and then, you obviously hand things over to people you trust for specific things. Like I have an accountant. I'm not doing my own accounting, thank goodness,
Yes.
but I do my own bookkeeping,
Yes.
and that actually helps me have a kinda keep an eye on what I'm spending and what I'm earning and find mistakes that maybe somebody who's doing my bookkeeping maybe wouldn't because they're not in it the
Mm.
day-to-day.
No, 100%. Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm a weird one. I've definitely found a way to enjoy, like, spreadsheets in some capacity and, like that.
I do my weekly receipts too, and I do all that bookkeeping, and then yeah, I do send it off to the pros, the big leagues, as I say. Uh,
Mm.
and I'm lucky to have an accountant in the family, so it's not too bad. It's someone I trust. Yeah, 100%. When you're a small business owner, if you can wear many hats, and you almost have to in a way. Like I look at comparing that to restaurants. Some of the most successful restaurants are family run, and the reason being is well, obviously, you think about the labor. I mean, it is very expensive to run a restaurant. When you have family are invested, just like we are invested in ourselves. So it's true. You mentioned festivals and putting your name out there. I was on your bio. You've done over 20 festivals or events, connected to other than just touring since 2009, which is incredible. I mean, you were at the Ottawa Blues Fest. That's a big event. That's
Oh,
huge.
that was an absolutely
2019. Yeah.
incredible. We
Wow.
opened for The Killers and
Amazing.
Psychedelic Furs and James and
Wow.
we stood side stage and watched The Killers, which is one of my favorite bands,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
They're great.
I mean, the pyro, I think, burned my hair, but, um, yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, I always feel like I haven't been s as successful as I'd hoped with getting into festivals, like, and I've always like, it's not enough, like, I still see there's so many more opportunities, there's so many great festivals in Canada that I've never, have had the pleasure or privilege of being on stage, but if you stick with it long enough, which I mean, I'm kind of midway through my life now, I suppose, if I'm good I guess if I live to be about 100, then, like
I'm happily middle age. I'm 54 now, so it's
yeah,
all good. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
it's pretty awesome, but, like, I
Yeah.
think, well, if I haven't had those opportunities yet, because there's a lot of great artists, and I understand it's a tough job there's a curating a festival lineup is an art form in itself. I have, like, mm, 40 whatever more years that I have, that maybe my chance will come, and so you just kinda keep trying and just focusing on doing what you love to do, which is for me, I've realized, I love writing songs and I love singing and releasing them, and maybe I'll get to play more stages, but I keep thinking I just haven't done enough. It's always that it's weird. I mean, but that's how it feels, I think, to a lot of
I
people.
relate to that. If I go on to an Instagram page, I follow a ton of chefs all over the world on Instagram, and I see some of the stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm going to sell my knives and just, I'm going to go chop trees. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
and I'm not, I joke about it. I use humor a lot to kind of diffuse my own anxiety and stress, but I look at all this amazing stuff out there, and then I have to pause and tell myself. And by the way, I'm not saying this to give you a lesson. I'm saying I need to remind myself constantly. You were
No,
doing
teach me.
great. Yeah, no, seriously.
Thank
I
you.
just, what? Someone told me once. It might have been a therapist. Anyways, they said there's that little child in you, Rich. That self critic. That wants you
Yeah.
to do better and more. And sometimes you just got to sit back and go and enjoy. Oh, look at the things I have done. Now I get that. Would I love to be a marquee chef? Like Michael Smith and PEI, or a lot of these other chefs, like the chef from Alemania. All these places. I say, yeah, maybe. I don't know, but there's a sacrifice to that as well. You sacrifice your freedom of choice with other things too, because once you have that payroll under you and those people working for you, you're sort of, you're kind of stuck in that divot. But that's just my own philosophy on it. I really love being an independent, but then again, you've still got to get paid. And I just learned a big lesson. I was spent 6 years with the Department of National Defense cooking as a civilian cook on base, and it was great. Don't get me wrong; it got me through COVID. It did all those things. But at the end of that, I'd say the 7 year itch. I had it at 5, and I said, I got to get back to where I was, and I did it. So
Good for you.
I can thanks. Yeah. So I totally respect and identify with singer-songwriters, indie bands, and it is really something that you have to love because it's not monetary. The money doesn't come immediately.
That's absolutely correct. I used to think if I was doing another job, I would be a failure, and I don't feel that way anymore at all, probably because I've had to, in order to fuel my passion, I don't wanna give up on it, but I what's important to me is stability. Ever since I was a child, I yearned for stability and safety, and in order to
Yes.
have my mental health secure and my physical health, like, I need to pay the bills and feel safe before I can even
Got it.
write a song, so if that means I have to pick up some other work, then so be it. But the other thing is you can find other work you also love to do that
Of course.
if you're
Yes.
lucky
Yes.
that really does lift you up and fuel, not just financially, so fuel in other ways. I work with I have a tech job right now, a part-time tech job, and the people I work with are their work ethic is phenomenal, and they, it's kind of like an all hands on deck crew. And I've found in those my colleagues right now, like inspiration that and work ethic that I kind of struggled to find in certain parts of the music industry, not so much the musicians, but the industry side of things. And I'm not saying everybody in the industry at all, because I do have some stellar people I've worked with and continue to work with when budgets permit. But I found that I just am fueled by the people themselves. So you could have a job, you like the tasks, but you don't like your coworkers, or,
Of
the
course. Of
attitude
course.
sucks.
Yeah.
And then or you can have, like, really awesome I've been really fortunate to have great people at the gigs that I've worked over the years that, just wonderful kind of mentors, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And my 6 years working for the Department of National Defense, I learned a lot, and I met some amazing people. And I really kind of connected to the roots of cooks. And I was working alone for so long, being a sole proprietor. I had small amount of staff, but yeah, it was great, and you do learn from that. I find sometimes when you're in a work environment, working with other people, you don't necessarily always learn like for me, cooking in the kitchen, the skill level was stuff that I had done before. It wasn't bad. They get fed very well in the military, but it was the interpersonal relationships that I had missed out on and learning from other people that way. And, I felt really humbled and grateful to have been part of that. So, speaking
Yeah,
of that, I kind of wanted to go into some of your other collaborations. Do
sure.
you have a songwriting partner Dale Murray? Is that correct?
Well, I write most of my songs by myself,
Okay,
but
okay.
Dale is he's my best friend. He is a musical
Yes,
collaborator, like, he's produced my album since
yes,
2 Hearts.
yes.
And we do co-write occasionally, more on the music side, but he
But did you
has
release an album together in 2019?
that was an album of, it was 5 cover songs,
Yes.
and then I think 5 originals,
Yeah.
and we may have co-written on that one, I'm not sure, but working with Dale is always a collaboration.
Mm.
He's collaborative and he produces other artists.
Yes.
And I feel from watching those, kinda happen, I feel that's one of the really cool things about Dale, that he's very involved in a lot of capacities, and even if he's not involved in the songwriting, which sometimes he is, and he's completely capable of writing a kick-ass song himself. He has 2 albums
Yes.
out, Dream Mountain Dream and Brighter Lives, Darker Side. But, I mean, he's just wonderful to work with. I love working with him in the studio. We've gotten over the years, our I guess, the way we work has evolved, um, and I'm trying to catch up to him musically, as he has such a long and rich background and training with music, and it was
Do you find that a positive thing? Do you find that every time you go into a session or whatever, you're learning more about yourself as a musician?
maybe not every time, but, like,
Right.
'cause I do, but certainly a lot of the times. I mean, I find that every time I write a song is like a new, there's something new that's learned or stretched my vocals in a certain new way, perhaps.
Mm, mm.
Or yeah, somebody will point something out to me, whether it's Dale or, like, one of my musicians that I work with often, like Jason Vautour, will say, "Did you know that I've noticed you do this," because he's worked with me for a couple, almost
Right.
over a decade anyway. And, so I'll learn when someone usually points something out. Actually, oftentimes it's Jason. He's always been very helpful vocally and in terms of like my how I play rhythm guitar. I'm not a soloist, but and yeah, I mean, I know my limitations, that's for sure. And there's certain limitations I'm quite comfortable with. Like I do
Yeah, yeah,
not,
of course.
I used to think I needed to learn piano. And I sort of was like, at some point, I was like, I do not need to learn piano. Like, I'll use
Right.
it for writing songs
Sure.
and then I'll hire someone who actually can play
Right.
piano. And I'm like, I'm 100% okay with that. It's way more fun and, no one needs to hear me play piano. Like, that's not a need to show for,
I think that's maturing as an artist. And you know what? Chefs do the same thing. I used to
yeah,
think I had to do everything and follow every single trend, but I realized that I have a style. I like my style. I think it's
yeah.
good. I present food in a certain way. Has it evolved? Has it been influenced by other techniques? Absolutely. But it's always my style. And it's interesting for you to say that. So I think that's a normal thing. I think we all kind of struggle with that. I got to ask you one more thing about that cover album. The Winner Takes It All. Whose idea was that? Because I love that track. I'm a huge, not a closet ABBA fan, but man, oh man, does that song ever take me back. I love it.
Yeah, I'm out of the closet. That was my idea. Some of the songs on that one were Dale's ideas. Like we would learn them for a tour.
Yes,
Like, there's a Richard Thompson song, "A
yes,
Heart Needs a Home," and he
yes,
brought that to the table, and I wouldn't have found it or thought of it, and it's such a it was a hard song for me to learn how to sing, in part because it's kind of a straight song, and I have a
right,
vibrato I didn't really try
right,
to
right.
control, and the so it allowed a beautiful song, and allowed me to learn not only, how to sing it, but, how to sing harmonies, with my husband,
Mhm.
Dale. I picked The Winner Takes It All. I'm an out of the closet for sure ABBA fan as
Huge fan.
well,
Yeah.
and I can only it's a beautiful I'd say a complex recording. I mean, the ABBA songs are not simple. I mean,
No, by any
I don't
means.
think,
No,
but
not at all.
I could only play it a certain ways. I kind of I hate to say dumbed it down, but
No,
I
no, it was
had
very
to
good.
I had to learn how to sing it and then stretch myself, and it's become one of the most joyful songs to sing
Mhm.
for me, but I also finger pick in it and then I can only do like a couple patterns. And so
Right.
I was just trying to play to my strengths and keep it really simple. And I mean, at heart, I'm a Americana folk, more of a folk, with pop sensibilities kind
Sure.
of
Yeah.
songwriter. And so I just kind of try to lean on that folk
I
sensibility.
gravitate to listening to that music, so it really hit me, and it was great. And you know what's interesting, and you maybe I've been told this by other people, but when I was listening to the original, it's very orchestrated. You know what I mean? There's a lot of layers there. But when it was stripped down, your guys' version, the lyrics actually hit me more. I knew it was a song about heartbreak, and moving on. Whereas when at another time in my life when I listened to it, I was like, "Oh, it's a cool song." And I
Yeah.
focused on the lyrics for the chorus, but I really that's just my own personal opinion. It really it told me the tale better. So I just wanted to share that with you because when that happens to me in music, I get excited about it. So thank you
Oh, well,
for
thank
doing that.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. And listen, there was another thing I wanted to chat about too, if I could. There was a song or single you released, and you had a relationship or you had listened to someone's story who had been through the Elizabeth Fry Foundation and the Golden Tears, I think
Yeah.
it was called.
Golden Tears. Yeah.
Yeah, another haunting, beautiful song. And so, did that come from? Obviously, that came from a very special place. Someone shared their story with you. Do you mind? Do you feel sharing a little bit about that?
Sure. I was actually in kind of a drought songwriting wise, and I'd gone to back to Austin, Texas in 2023 to take my very first and only songwriting course by Mary Gauthier and Darden Smith. And a week after that, I got this invitation to be part of United by Song project in Halifax. It was called Songs of the City. And so they pair you with a storyteller who's been impacted by a local group like Elizabeth Fry Society. United Way gives funds to these organizations. And so I heard the story, but I didn't get to meet my storyteller because she had been sentenced and so I couldn't meet her. She had that
Of
I
course.
think in that same month had to do time. And her name's Joanne. And Joanne I saw her video interview and it was so, so remarkable, and I had to write the song pretty quick, But I used some of these tips that I learned in my songwriting course, and of course, her story kind of told itself. But I
Right.
just
Yeah.
got the idea of these tears, healing tears, really.
Yeah.
I mean, tears of pain, but then also I saw the impact that the Elizabeth Fry Society had on Joanne's life, and it was so positive. And so even though it's a very, it's a very striking, sad, touching story, but see the silver line, I see the healing aspect of it. And of course, I've met Joanne since. She emailed me and said she was coming to a show this last year, and she's doing absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
And that is a large part of that is the Elizabeth Fry Society. I mean, a large part of that is Joanne doing the work. And
Yes, of course. Yeah.
so that I'm really thrilled that that song, what we recorded it, and that is now out,
Hmm.
and people are responding to it, I think in part because her story is so remarkable.
Yeah, it really is, and it was touching, and I wanted to bring that up because sometimes people go through things that we would never imagine and can find help and bring it into their lives, and then they're on their own trail to
Yeah.
self-discovery. So that's amazing. So you had mentioned to me before we came on, you have a new single coming out for the holidays. Now, this podcast should be launched early December, so it might be a cool opportunity to let people know about it.
Perfect. Now I do have a history of not really enjoying the holiday season.
Okay,
Years ago, I think it was 2019, I wrote my first Christmas song as a kind of a project to see if I could,
could do
make
it.
something good of this time with my music. And I wrote a song that reminded me of the things that I loved growing up about the holidays, the things that maybe were sad, but like I always lean on the positive event, like it's like let's just say it like it is, but also see the good, I guess.
Yeah,
And then I started writing more holiday songs, and then this year we wanted to have a lot of fun with, and so I wrote a song with Dale called "Sex, Drugs, and Christmas Time,"
I love it.
and
It's great.
it's really just meant to be fun, and it's interesting to me for deeper reasons, but it's, like, when you think sex and well, I mean, I think everyone could use a little more sex if you want it.
Yeah, no, totally.
I
Good sex is
mean
never an issue.
it's so funny because you said drugs, right? And you think hard stuff and horrible things happen. In my experience, after 47 years of going through, complete like abstinence and no drugs, no alcohol. I don't drink at all now. Alcohol, by the way, is a drug. Everybody,
It is a drug, yes.
I think I've learned, at least for now, that there are certain things and medicines out there in the world that improve quality of life
Yeah,
if taken
absolutely.
responsibly. And I guess when I'm singing about sex, drugs, and Christmas time, I'm like, you know what? Just find whatever works for you, whether it's kombucha,
Yes.
not drinking at all, whether it's smoking marijuana occasionally,
Yep,
make it a treat, and those
yep.
kinds of things. And we just wanted to have fun with it, but make it, a really, really ridiculous song, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
That's cool. I can't wait to hear it actually. So, do you have a date for that to release on
Well,
streaming?
it'll be out November 14th, so it'll be out when this comes out, and then the video we're shooting for it should be out the first week of December or soon after, hopefully, so watch out for the video on YouTube.
Amazing. That's awesome. And, I think you and I have very similar ideas about, sex, drugs, and Christmas, especially with the drug part. Everything in moderation, including moderation. And you know what? Mindful drinking or mindful, puffing or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. But, keep an eye on yourself and the dangers. So I get it 100%.
absolutely,
Very cool. So would you like to talk a little bit about food
Yeah, of
and the
course.
scene? All
Sure.
right, cool. So you're from Halifax originally, right? You born and raised in Halifax
No,
or
I grew
no?
up actually in New Brunswick in a few different
Oh, go
places.
on.
Yeah, my family was
Oh, okay.
French, French Canadian, Acadian
Yeah, yeah.
French, and I only moved to Halifax when I was, I think, 18 to go to
Okay.
university. Yeah.
All right, cool. So you've been a Haligonian since, but you've spent some time away. Obviously, went to Texas. You did a residency in Dachau, was
Dachau.
it
Yep.
not?
Yep.
Dachau.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. But for the most part, you consider your roots now, after like, from university on or whatever,
Nova
and how
Scotia.
Nova Scotia,
Yeah,
yeah, and Halifax.
I actually live in Cumberland County, which
Okay.
I don't think you would have known. I don't think it's out there on my website, but,
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
North Shore, Nova Scotia, so a 2-hour drive from Halifax, but I'm in
Yeah.
Halifax quite a lot, actually.
Right.
My mom
That's
lives
right.
there, my
Yeah.
friends are there, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So, is there any local go-to places that you guys like to eat?
You know where we've been really digging lately is a place called the Narrows in the North End.
Yeah. Yeah. The Narrows is really good.
It's kinda like a British pub vibe, a very cool
Yeah.
atmosphere, and the food is just wonderful. I've been a couple times, I don't go out to eat too often, but
And
we love that place.
that's on Godigan, right?
That's
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a cool interior. I love it. It's got a neat little fireplace, and it's a groovy little spot. I love it. Yeah, it's great. I got to get back there again because there's so much good food, and that's just a thing for chefs. Is we see other chefs usually at conferences or competitions or what have you, right? But I'm a big fan of that. But I'm also a big fan of Bar Kismet as well.
Mm,
Another North End. So Jenner Cormier and his wife run it, and she is the chef and he does the cocktails out front. They're both just fantastic people and their staff are great. So if you guys are ever in town again, you want to try a different vibe, their cocktails and seafood are amazing.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, Bar Kismet. I usually always recommend it to people, when they're coming into town. But what I've seen that so I started out in kitchens in the late '80s, and it's interesting. I've had other chefs on the show too, and there was sort of a surgence of European trained chefs in Halifax in the '80s, which kind of was the seed that spawned what we have today. There was a time when if there was anyone who had great food. They were usually from outside of Halifax. That's not the case now. It's Haligonian run. I mean, some people from afar, but it's really cool to see all the different places come together in these little, smaller independent places that really speak to me.
Yeah, I do wanna mention my favorite cafe, which is
Please.
Bramble Cafe in the North End.
Bramble.
Bramble,
Cool.
it's
Yeah.
a vegan, cafe, and they bake all of the vegan goods for most of, like, the other Halifax cafes. If you're gonna eat vegan stuff, they usually buy it from Bramble, but it's a bakery, beautiful cafe.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I mean, the James, one of the staff there, I believe that's his name, is like an award-winning barista,
Nice. Yeah, barista. I
and
think you're right. Yeah, yeah.
everything, the staff there, really cool, and it's a great vibe, and you're never waiting too long, but even if you are waiting, it's worth the wait. So
They
Bramble
probably make it
Cafe,
fun. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, definitely. I'll have to go check it out and grab myself a
so
flat
good.
white or something. I'm pretty
Yes,
vanilla when it comes to that stuff, but I do love good
and
flat white. But you
yeah,
know what? Baristing is not an easy job. It's the line cooks of the front of the house, that and cocktail makers.
I bet.
It's huge. It's not easy for sure. So when you're not out and about eating restaurants, either here or abroad, do you do a lot of cooking at home?
So, funny thing, I used to do all the cooking until we started getting HelloFresh, and
Yes.
we love it. My husband does all the cooking now,
Yeah.
and he's learning how to cook because
Yes.
it arrives, for those of you who don't know, which I'm sure most of you do, but it arrives with the instructions,
Yes.
and we have found it's less waste. We used to waste a lot of food. I used to spend way too much on groceries.
No,
I'm
I get it.
terrible
I get it.
monitoring that. But when I do the cooking, like I very much learned from my grandmother and my mother, very much like a French Canadian cuisine,
Yep.
roasted chicken,
Oh,
gravy,
yeah.
potatoes. I can make a mean spaghetti sauce.
Nice.
I do love to cook. I'm not a big on baking. I've dabbled in it, but like
Too many ingredients to measure. I'm the same way.
right? Yeah, I don't it's not really how I wanna spend my time, and I don't love
Yeah.
having a lot of listen, if I have baked goods, I eat them, and
Yeah.
don't want I like to kinda keep an eye on my weight, and I
I get
always
it. I get
have,
it.
and I just
Carbs
yeah,
carbs are a friendly foe-y kinda thing in my life. I get it. I
like,
love them, but,
I mean,
I'm
I
54. I think about eating a donut, and I gain 5 pounds. It's the way
yeah,
it is.
I mean, I have 5 different, like, cheeses in the fridge right now because, we had guests over, and I'm the one who ends up
Nice.
eating all of it, and
Sure. Yeah.
that's you'd think that's nice, but, it's
Well, it's about balance. It's about I get it. Like, that's why I don't keep certain things in my house. And
yeah.
people are like, why? Because I'll eat them.
I
It's one of
can't
those things.
control it. It's a thing in our family, I think, and a lot of families, to be honest,
No,
but,
it's all like that.
I
You all struggle with that balance. I get it 100%.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm definitely a savory kinda chef. I
Yeah.
love making roast chicken, though, it's one of my favorites, mashed
One of my
potatoes,
favorites.
and, roasted veg, and other than that, I just love healthy stuff.
Yeah. What about Rocky pie? Did your family ever make Rocky pie?
What is that? That is it meat pie?
Yeah, it's a meat pie. It's you know what it is? It's a chicken or rabbit,
Uh,
usually
rabbit
stewed pie, and then it has a potato crust. What
rabbit
they do is
pie.
they shred the potato and then they squeeze all the starch out of it, season it up, put it on top and bake it. So it's like a waxy potato topping. And you mentioned the French Canadian, but you know what? I only know of it through my old roommate from culinary school, Paul Timot.
Oh.
He's from down Digby way. He's from Sonyaville. So maybe it's not universal for every French community, but yeah, he turned me on to it. I remember we made it once in our apartment. It was a hell of a mess, but it was a lot of fun.
Like, so we didn't have that, but my mom often had rabbit pie,
Yum.
wild
Yeah.
rabbit pie or meat pies,
Sure,
minced
yeah,
meat
meat pies.
pies
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
huge,
Yeah.
Acadian, absolutely. Well, that's cool. So speaking of that, and next question could apply to food or music. Name a person, alive or dead, that you would love to host at a dinner party. Now, I'm thinking it doesn't even have to be musician or chef. It could be who's your inspiration because obviously singing your songs, we all derive inspiration from certain people and places.
I love to laugh, when I have people over, I love to play stupid games and things, so I
Nice.
think I would want a comedian. I mean, Ricky Gervais is pretty
He's
I
hysterical.
think he's hilarious, and I'd love to just hear him ramble on, to be honest, and make
Riff,
fun of
just riff.
yeah, or
Yeah,
make fun of
yeah.
us and me.
Yeah, yeah.
Ricky Gervais for sure, and I'm trying to think of somebody who's dead. Who could I bring back from the dead? I think John Candy would be another
You're
great,
speaking to my heart right there.
great,
Absolutely.
dinner guest for sure. Yeah.
I would love to sit down with John Candy and just talk about the weather. Like, it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter what it was, like, I had such an affinity for him and SCTV. I grew up on that era,
Yeah.
and, him and Andrea Martin and
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara
Martin
and
Short too. That would be
Martin
hilarious
Short.
having him over.
Like, yeah, but no, this is weird, but I was probably 23-year-old kid when John Candy passed away. I was very sad by it because he
Yeah.
touched so many of us,
Yeah.
as 80s kids, or I was an 80s kid, but anyways. So yeah, good, those are great choices. John Candy be amazing. And from what I heard, he would love to do it. He was that guy. He was actually known for walking off set and going down the road and finding a family. And he was found once. I read the SCTV, this book by Dave Thomas, and they couldn't find John Candy, and he was actually having a turkey dinner with a family that was 4 blocks away from the set,
Mm.
just eating food and enjoying himself. So yeah, he'd be a hoot. So when you're on tour, do you have a go-to comfort meal, something that you gotta have, or depending on where you're at, like what's dining like? You know what I mean when you're traveling.
Well, oftentimes, if we're in Germany or Europe, the
Yeah.
venue let's say Germany, because 'cause they're just always feeding you at the venues, and it's usually really good. But we always request, we've been requesting, like, we were vegan for a while, a vegetarian type meal because it's just healthier, and I feel like it helps keep your mood and attitude more positive.
No,
If you're eating
100%.
it's so easy to eat grease and baked goods and
Yep,
bread,
I
and then
agree.
your clothes don't fit and you feel miserable and I just rather
I'm a Whole Foods guy. Like, I
yeah.
like to eat Whole Foods. It
Ugh,
doesn't have to be fancy, but,
yeah.
if something comes out of a box isn't usually in my house. I have chicken, I have beef, I have vegetables. I do eat a good mix of that, so that's cool to hear.
Yeah, like fruits and veg and, like, just clean as it can be eating.
Mhm,
I love
mhm.
salads, hearty salads, and
Yeah,
Dale's
me too.
gluten-free, lactose-free, so we
Right
don't
on.
eat a lot of dairy except for all the cheese I'm eating in the fridge right now.
You're the sole, person to take down the cheese, I guess. I don't know.
If I buy it and I buy good stuff and then that's the other thing, like, when we're in Europe, like, we'll get the older cheeses so Dale can
Yeah,
have the cheeses without lactose,
of course,
and we'll
yeah.
just make them last and it's so good. Yeah, so that's I mean, healthy healthy eating salads, chicken, love soups.
Yeah.
It's really good for my voice, like just soothing stuff
A
that's
day
like
like today,
yeah,
it's
immune
perfect.
boosting stuff is good too
Yeah.
because it's so easy to get sick on the road with people.
Mm,
You're just
mm,
meeting new people all the time and shaking hands, and
100%.
so anything that's healthy.
I do my rice now, I put turmeric in it because someone told me it was good for me. So, I do a lot of
Yeah,
that.
it's an anti-inflammatory
Yeah, that's what it
thing.
is, yeah. So, I don't always know the healthy part. I know the tasty part, but I'm learning too. I'm lucky to have some dietitians and nutritionists and other people like that in my life. But
Nice.
it is fun because it is such universal, and that's why I started this podcast. So I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time today to chat a little bit about music and food and all of that. Is there, if you wanted, I guess before we go, if there's one thing you'd like people to walk away from listening to your music, what would it be?
Well, I just hope people, if you're listening to my music, I just hope that it does something for you. I mean, I don't think every song will, and every song doesn't do something for me anymore when I listen back. Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah, I get it.
But
I
I
get it.
think,
Yeah.
my newer stuff is definitely where I wish I would have been at early on. And I just hope it helps people feel something. And my music is, I think, the kind of music that you have to listen to a couple times. Like when I was growing up, you'd listen to a song, sometimes 5 or 10 times before you really started listening and it was in your bones. So I think my music is often that kind of a thing where you got to listen again. And that's not something everyone does nowadays. I think slow down and listen to the music, and not just mine, just like in general. Yeah.
Well, the whole compressed, hook in 6 seconds is so big now, especially with popular music, so I get it. I prefer album music and slow burns myself, so, yeah, that's true. Are you still liking the song "Daisy"? Because that's one of my favorite songs.
Oh, it's fun. I don't play it a lot,
Yeah. It's a cool
but
song, I like
I
it.
I like the recording. Greg Keeler sang on that, and Wayne Petty backups on that one,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Dale.
yeah,
I have really good memories, like, around that song and playing it with the
yeah,
band, but, yeah. I mean, I definitely don't not like it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's cool because that's an older track too, right? It's from a few years ago.
Yeah,
I
for
thought
sure.
maybe, like you'd mentioned that, so I thought maybe, that was one that you don't add to your repertoire, but when you write so many songs, you can't keep them all in every single set. So
That's true.
those were just the ones that I brought up today were some of my favorites, so,
Well,
I
thank
do
you.
appreciate it. So, yeah, that's great, and, thanks for doing this, and, we should talk about doing some other things together down the road. It was a real joy chatting with you today, and I appreciate your time.
I would love to, Richard. Anytime you wanna chat, please
I will.
just reach out, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode on the Backstage Kitchen Podcast. Huge thank you to my guest, Christina Martin. Thank you for the time, the stories, and the songwriting honesty. Seriously, go check out her music and support artists who are out there telling the truth. ChristinaMartin.net. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor. Follow, subscribe, leave a rating and a review, and share it with one person who loves great songwriting and real conversations. The stuff matters more than you think. It's how my show grows. You can find me on Instagram at Chef Live and at _backstage_kitchen. And if you want to see what I'm cooking up with catering events and everything Chef Live, check out my website, cheflive.ca. Coming up next episode's all about food shows. What they're really like behind the scenes, what works, what doesn't, and how vendors can actually win in the environment. I'll be interviewing Halifax Progress Club Sean Donaldson, the creator of the Crave Food and Wine Show. And we'll also be featuring one of my favorite vineyards in the valley, Lightfoot and Wolfville Vineyards. So make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss that one. I'm going to leave you with a song from Christina. It's from her 2015 album, It'll Be All Right. And the song is called It'll Be All Right. Till next time, I'm Chef Rich, and enjoy the music.
you turn